Hi, welcome to our studio chat. We're so glad that you are here. This conversation, we are talking about leaning into your unique self. Before we get started, sound like a broken record, but if you are enjoying our studio chats, please take a screenshot and share. It means the world to us. And with that said, let's dive in. I think this is an important topic. Yeah?
Yeah.
I think it can be a hard one too, because people say, find your signature style or your unique self, and it can feel like, oh my gosh, what is that?
What is my unique self? Like, you know, like, um, and I think it's actually a journey. It's a journey. And I feel
Yes.
like I don't think you're ever going to get off the journey of finding your unique style or like how do you define that? Do you know what I mean? Like people say, find your art style. And it's actually just a journey and we never get off it. We're always developing and like honing and going, oh, I like that. And actually, do you know what? I'm going to try that and morphing into new things. I do it. I'm just like constantly changing and like adapting and thinking, oh, I quite like that. I'm going to try that. Or like even in color palettes, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to add a little bit of this color. And I quite like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I
Well,
don't put this up in a box of
a
like,
lot of it is time too. And I think, Flora, I'm the same with you, as I don't put some artists put these tight boundaries around what they do. They've got, I only use this brush, I only use this color palette, I don't stray from it. And that can be a great way if you're really struggling to find your voice, of putting tighter parameters around what you're working with will help you create artwork that all looks very similar, right? Because you're using the same
yeah, and to give
palette.
something, and if you're liking those things, to give something a real go, and then you can
Mhm.
kind of like layer in new things. Like give yourself a palette, give yourself a brush and a medium, and then you can layer in a new color, layer in a new brush, or like you can layer in things. You don't have to stay there, right?
Yeah. And so I think that's one way to look at it, is like some people really thrive under a set of rules that really helps you find your voice, and some people don't. And I think either way, finding your unique style and your voice, whatever you want to call it, just takes time. It takes time, and it takes practice and showing up and a willingness to explore and play.
Yeah, and actually there was a question somebody asked the other day, and I didn't get a chance to chime in on my opinion on it, but this is it, is that, you know, like I'm trying to find my unique voice and I just love all the mediums and all the things, and I like feel sad if I didn't use my pens or something, and I feel sad that if I didn't use my paints, or I feel sad that if I was just using the iPad, and I want to do it all. Like, do you know, I just love it all. Like how do you kind of refine and kind of like focus on one thing? And it's like you don't actually have to, you know, like this is your journey and it's your style. So if you want to do a mixture of stuff, I think by doing the work and going on the journey and giving yourself time and doing the work, it will naturally um come from your handwriting and show your essence will show through the work anyway, no matter what medium you're using. And then you'll naturally find that you'll start leaning probably towards something like one or two or three kind of things naturally anyway, the deeper you go into the journey. Don't you agree? Like
Yeah,
I'm
I 100%
yeah.
agree with that. I think that you'll naturally, the way, I mean, we talked about this before, but your unique voice isn't necessarily one thing. It can be through the medium you're using. It can be across multiple mediums, but you use a certain color palette, or you build your artwork or your patterns in a certain way with your composition. Some people like really airy patterns. Some people like complex patterns, lots of layers, movements, simple, complex. And as you go down the road, no matter how many mediums you're using, they'll start to have your hand in each.
Yeah, your essence is going to show through. um I love, before we were just chatting about like play and joy, and like when we're actually just like doing things out of play and joy, like, you know, like when I feel like then you can kind of like really actually just enjoy yourself. There's no end project in mind. And then that's when I feel like you can really find the things that you really love. And then you can start to take notice and check, oh, I really love this, the way I've drawn this, or not so much that I want to scribble that out, or like, like you can really kind of find of like, oh, I quite like those colors together. I've used that like that pink with that kind of tan color, and that actually looks really, I really love that. I'm driving with that. Or it's that play that we're going to discover ourselves. It's the journey of the doing. We have to do. And like, we're not ever going to like find the art style, I don't even know if you really find it, but we're never really going to like find a groove if we don't do the doing. We have to do lots of doing. So I'm sorry, guys, you actually have to do lots and lots of drawing, lots and lots of art and practicing, and just like you have to like find some momentum and some joy, find the joy in it. Because if you're finding like, oh, that just feels like hard work, you need to like think about the joy and like making it fun again, like to find the momentum going.
Well, and I think for people who, when you say play, like go and play and find joy, people can be like, well, great. Well, I don't know. Every time I play, I draw a daisy over and over again. I'm drawing a daisy or whatever it is. Like, you can give yourself a practice to develop your style of, maybe you take that flower and you draw it with your markers, and then you draw it with line work, and then you try it on your iPad. And it's over that doing and that repetition, you'll start to see the things that you like. Like, oh, I actually liked when I drooped the leaf this way, or I liked when the line work was really precise, or I liked it really loose, and I liked how these colors touched each other, or I hate when my motifs overlap. You know what? You'll start to kind of play with that. And when you say play, if you're having a hard time sitting down, you're like, well, I'm not getting anywhere just playing, maybe give yourself a few parameters around your art practice for that 5 minutes a day or whatever it might be.
Yeah, some good things is like timing yourself, or like saying, today I'm just using the pen and tomorrow I'm going to try something else, or today I'm just going to put all the mediums out on my desk and just see what I grab, like, or it's having prompts that can really help, like, or doing an art challenge. Like kind of having an art challenge can hold you accountable for like setting a daily routine. But if we want to come back into like leaning into our unique self, sometimes we can kind of be influenced by the things around us, and then we can kind of like start morphing into something that we actually don't enjoy, or that we think we should be doing because it's, I don't know, someone else is having success in drawing that way, or you see someone doing something a certain way, and then you're like, oh, they're having success, or they've sold their art on that product or something. And so you can kind of get sidetracked into thinking that that's what you should do, but it's actually not joyful for you. I feel like we do art and stuff to like express ourselves and to have this joy, and like that's why we've chosen this profession. And so you got to be really careful about the way you're creating as well. And like, almost like if you look around too much, you can get really swayed, and then you just actually don't feel but care about your art, and it doesn't feel you like you really want to lean into your unique self and like really come from that joyful, like playful kind of, it's hard to like describe.
No, I know what you're meaning. Like, I'll give an example. If you design intricate, really detailed florals that have lots of layers and moody color palettes, those aren't necessarily what's trending in kids wear, right?
Yeah.
But then you see somebody having success in kids wear, and you're either trying to force this design there, or you're trying to change your style to fit into kids wear, where really it's lean into this thing that you're loving, and there's a home for that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a home for that type of art.
And niching down, like, I feel like niching down and finding something that your style will sit in, you'll definitely find success, because there is like success in you know, like in fashion, there's success in home decor, there's success in wallpaper, there's success in so many areas, sportswear. It's just like the list goes on, like, you know,
Yeah.
products for hunting, and like it's so many things, like camos, and like there's like, it just, if you think about
It
like
goes,
the commercial world of like all the stuff that like patterns are on, and even just like, you know, cards and placement prints, like even if just like leaning into that, like if you really actually don't love doing patterns, then don't do patterns, do placement prints, and then maybe start with the placement print as your hero, and then do a little pattern that could be like the inside of the lining of the card, or, you know, like
yeah.
it's finding what you love doing. So don't do the pattern if you don't love it.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say that people are finding success in all different areas. And it might just be that the people that you're watching and following it are finding it in this one spot. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
rather than saying the only way I'm going to find success is if my artwork then fits in this bucket, it's having a willingness to say, no, this is my artwork and I love making it. I'm going to go find the right home for it.
Yeah. And sometimes that can take some time and some like realize, like practice, and like doing this. It doesn't happen overnight, this kind of success. It's been consistent with that niche, and like really giving that it your all, and like putting the time and the energy into it, the research into it, and continuously doing it, not just kind of like trying it for a month and then nothing happened. Like it, I'm talking about like months of trying, you know,
Yeah.
like really.
Well, and a willingness to learn along the way, right?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
found the niche. This is where my artwork lives. Now, how do I make it an easy yes for people
Yeah.
within this niche?
So like if we go back to leaning into our unique self about that, like when we kind of like can get swayed by what somebody else is doing, it's always good to remind yourself of like, how would I do it? You see someone having success with I don't know, 4th of July or something, that they've done a 4th of July say 4th of July collection, and you're like, wow, they had huge success with that. And then you're like, maybe I should do 4th of July, but actually, does it fit into your aesthetic and to like what your brand is kind of saying and doing? And should you do that? And if you do want to try it out, then it's leaning into like how you feel that you would do it. Like, what's your take on it? How would you make the marks, and how would you color it, and how would you position it with your media, the composition? There's lots of things that can like reflect our unique self, right? Like there's composition, there's color
Yep.
palettes. Like you could just have like a real distinct color palette and then use different mediums. What these
I
like.
love when you just gave the 4th of July example because I can instantly see somebody who's doing like ice cream cones and flags and things like that. And if you're a home decor person, you can still do something inspired by 4th of July, but you're probably going to go with blues and whites, and it maybe leans a little more you know what I mean? Like
And maybe it's
there's a
kind of
way for you to
textured.
interpret it.
Yeah, it's kind of textured, more home decor-y kind of, with more of a sophisticated twist to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what would you, if you had a modern beach house and you were hosting 4th of July, what would your tablescape look like? Right? Like what would your table runner look like? It maybe you don't want flags and ice cream cones and all that kind of stuff. You want something more elevated.
Yeah, and it's a really lovely like textured stripe or something, and it leans into it, nods to it.
Yeah.
Instead of like blah 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 blah. And I like
Yeah.
what are some other things? Like I feel like line work is a huge one for like leaning into your unique self. And I feel like color palettes and like line work of the way that people make marks. It's
Yeah.
like, how do you enjoy making marks? Like sometimes I feel like I like love being a perfectionist and having like really clean lines, and then there's this another part of me that I just love like it looking really painterly, and I like almost like, I don't know, like what's the word when you have two personalities where like one comes into more place
Jekyll
sometimes.
and Hyde.
Yeah, where like sometimes I'm just like, oh, I just love like making it real painterly and textured, and then sometimes I'm like, I just want it really neat and clean. It depends on my vision in the end, but I feel like I can still do both, and it's still me. It still ends
Yeah.
up being like me.
Well, and
What?
I think that the ways that you do that, Fleur, from an outsider is you have a color palette. You don't stick to a specific color palette, but you stick to the same tones, kind of very much. And you have a way that you build patterns and how you space things and lay things out that is very you,
Yeah, and no one wants
regardless
another
if it's
me, right?
fiction.
No one wants another me or another Charlie Ron or another whatever, whoever out there. We all want to like be standing out, to like stand and go, that's, and you can say, hey, that's Houghton, or
Yeah.
that's, like you really want to be leaning into your unique voice of like what's you, and like finding joy in that, because when we really come from that space, it's like when this becomes really exciting and really like you become really proud of your work, when you're
Well,
coming.
and I think too, when you're in the learning and the figuring out and the new, adding new things, it's just like you said, I'm always trying new things or curious. We're creatives. We're going to continue to grow and do things. Oftentimes, when you're learning from somebody, you can tend to lean really close to them. And that's never where we want to be, right? Like it doesn't feel good as an artist. You don't want to be too close to anybody. And I think if you find yourself in that spot, trying to find your unique voice, it's just a matter of giving yourself time and practice and putting in the work. And the more that you do it, the more you will lean away from the person that you learn from. And that's really the direction you want to be. Because just like you said, why would I license the B version of Houghton when I could license Houghton, right? Why? No, people want something that is different. They don't want something on their shelf that looks almost identical to what they already had.
Yeah, yeah. um Actually, like trying something new, let's chat about the briefs, because I had someone saying that, oh, like like we're all going to be creating the same thing. No, we're not. We all have our own little minds with these briefs.
Yeah.
Briefs, we give like so much scope. These are like starting off points. You've got to think of it as like this is inspiration of like to spark ideas, and nobody knows your secret sauce or like what's inside your head, the way that you are going to take your spin on it, the way that you're going to draw it, the medium that you're going to use. And so we're going to try something a little bit new with the briefs this month. We're going to try one theme that is more moody and kind of like a mood and a feeling of, so then it can kind of open people up to more home decor, high fashion, commercial fashion, women's wear, those kind of things, instead of like the children's wear. I feel like a lot of people are like leaning into the children's wear kind of stuff, but if you are someone that really wants to like lean into the other kind of area of like home decor things, wallpaper and all of those, we're going to give one of our themes that are kind of more mood, like a mood and a feeling. And then you can run with that and go abstract, or you could go really literal with it, or you could like bring in, like, I don't know, what would you call kind of like ombre kind of like feeling, like patterns or anything. But
Yeah, it's just making it a little bit more, giving you a broader way to use the brief of, this really isn't only for people that want to do children's wear. It's hopefully by giving you a mood and painting a picture and giving you the atmosphere of what it would be, of how it would feel, it will allow you to create patterns and artwork for whatever industry based off of that. It's basically like getting a brief of somebody saying to you, hey, I want artwork that would fit perfectly in da 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 da. You know what I mean?
like
Or that would work with.
and like setting the scene of like, so we're going to set the scene. One's going to be kind of like what we've been doing, but then one of the themes is going to be a little bit like this. So, and it's like setting the scene of like what an art director would kind of say to you, like, I need this, this, and this, and this. And then you can kind of like run with that, or like take ideas from that and then go your own way with it. You can either take all of the color palette, you could take 2 of the colors, you could be like, I actually just love the blue out of this color palette, and run with that. And it's the briefs are really there to spark ideas, to like, so we can kind of have a jumping off point, so we can like work faster. We can sit down, we don't have to like look at a blank piece of paper and just go, oh my god, like where do I even start? These are to help you kind of like know what to kind of like focus on that month. They're there to give you focus, to get you designing faster, to have a well-rounded portfolio, to have more things in your portfolio that aren't just florals and geometrics or fruit or something, you know. So we're trying something new because we're learning too, and we think this is going to be a great help to a lot of you, and also to break into other niches and other markets of like that you might be wanting to try. Don't you think?
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Yep. I'm excited for it. It goes out. Yeah, you guys are gonna have it. You might even have it by the time you see this video. I don't know for sure, because I don't know when this will release, but I'm very excited about this brief. I think you're going to love it. And I love this conversation. I think if anything, it's always a good reminder to be exactly who you are, right? And to make the artwork that you want to make, and be curious.
And find the joy, and then that's, I reckon, where we're going to lean into our unique self and find ourselves. And yeah, it is actually just a journey, right, Ryan? We're both still, I don't think
we're on it. We're all on it.
It's not just like magic, like I found my art style. We're still on it, and we're still developing. And if we were just stuck in one place in a box, then that wouldn't be much fun, would it?
Nope. Well, thank you guys for being here. And we hope you enjoyed the conversation. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you later.